Every single book which I've toppers suggested, but nothing worked for me.
I was like कि नहीं होगा छोड़ देते हैं, नहीं हो रहा है तो क्या फ़ायदा इनको दोबारा पढ़ने से.
I would like to thank StudyIQ. I got connected to StudyIQ.
StudyIQ ने मेरा मेंस तक मैंने साथ दिया, उसके बाद भी उन्होंने मेरा साथ नहीं छोड़ा.
I have taken this mock at StudyIQ.
And I would recommend StudyIQ.
Yes, I will definitely recommend StudyIQ.
Hello everyone, I am Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS channel. Now, world currently is in a state of conflict, particularly Iran here and Israel here. And because of the conflict between these two countries, there's a possibility that important water bodies like Persian Gulf here, like Red Sea here, would face certain violence and resultant disruption. So in that regard, two important narrow piece of water bodies, that is Bab el-Mandeb Strait and the Strait of Hormuz, becomes important from our exams perspective. So let us deal with this water body in order so that we understand important aspects about our UPSC exam, because these kind of questions although are very important from our exams perspective, which you will realize from the practice question that I give you, right? Now, the context of our today's discussion is because of escalating Iran-Israel war, it could push freight rates as well as insurance cost in shipping routes increase, and it will also hinder efforts to normalize trade that happen through Red Sea. Now, you understand in 2023, trades that were happening in Red Sea witnessed disruption because of attacks conducted by Houthi rebels on the shipping infrastructure belonging to Israel and US. And this disruption of violence created disruption in the trade which happens through Red Sea and ultimately through Gulf of Suez, right? So in this regard, the world was trying to restart the trade through Red Sea, but now the conflict between Israel and Iran has threatened this disruption. Similarly, this deadly conflict between Iran and Israel, now Iran has threatened the world that if the violence from Israel doesn't stop, Iran itself will block what is known as Strait of Hormuz. And Strait of Hormuz is very important because this is the where through which 20 to 30% of global oil trade happens, and if this strait would be blocked, it would automatically disrupt the global trade in fossil fuels like gas as well as crude oil, right? So in this regard, these two water bodies, Red Sea or Bab el-Mandeb Strait for that matter, and Strait of Hormuz becomes important. So let us deal with them one by one, and then we'll understand how it might disrupt India's trade also, right? First, we'll start our today's discussion with Strait of Hormuz, which is located just south of the country Iran, right? So this is the Strait of Hormuz we are going to talk about now. As you can understand, any strait is a narrow piece of waterway which connects two important water bodies, and Strait of Hormuz, it is also a narrow waterway between Iran and Arabian Peninsula, represented by two countries, UAE as well as Oman, which is there in Musandam Peninsula. It connects Persian Gulf on the west with that of Gulf of Oman located in east, and Iran is located towards the north of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and UAE is located towards the south. And it will become much more apparent if you look at the map, right? This is the map of this is the map of Strait of Hormuz, and you can see on the north here is Iran, and on the south there is Arabian Peninsula, represented by two countries, Oman and UAE. And this is the part I was telling you, this is called as Musandam Peninsula. And on the west of Strait of Hormuz, there is this big water body, Persian Gulf, and on the east there is this Gulf of Oman, and eventually when you come eastwards, you'll get into Arabian Ocean, right? So this is why I was saying this is a very narrow piece of land, it is very apparent from the satellite image also, right? So let us understand few more physiological aspects about this Strait of Hormuz. In terms of length, this strait is 167 kilometers long, but what is crucial, that its width can be as low as 39 kilometers. So it is easy for any country to conduct blockade and threaten ships of violence if they flow through this water body. Now, this width narrows towards the north, but it still allows for passage of large vessels. That is why it is quite crucial to the global trade in oil as well as natural gas. Now, the main water bodies that are draining into the Persian Gulf, that is rivers, it is draining into Persian Gulf, and you understand Persian Gulf is ultimately connected to Strait of Hormuz. So the rivers draining into Persian Gulf, these are Tigris, Euphrates as well as Karun rivers. Some of the islands that are located in the Strait of Hormuz, they include Hengen, Hormuz as well as Kishim, right? So these are the three important islands as well as three important rivers that are important from your exams perspective, right? Now, let's talk about the importance of Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz is considered as one of the world's most economically important choke points. Other choke points are like Malacca Strait, which is located south of Singapore. That is also an important choke point. Coming back to Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz is responsible for about 33% of global trade in liquefied gases, whereas 25% of crude oil, it passes through Strait of Hormuz, because important manufacturers of crude oil like UAE, like Saudi, Iran, Iraq, these are all located quite close to Persian Gulf, and therefore the traffic has to flow through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this strait, because it carries so much amount of fossil fuels, it is highly important strategic location for international trade. So you understand, any disruption, if it could happen in this water body, it would automatically lead, or it will have a negative consequences on the international trade, right? So this was Strait of Hormuz. Now let us come back to Red Sea, which is another important water body. Now Red Sea is a semi-enclosed inlet of Indian Ocean connecting two continents, that is Asia and Africa. This is the Red Sea I'm talking about, right? So on one hand, on this part is Asia, and on this part is Africa. This is the narrow piece of water body which is ultimately connected to the Arabian Sea here via Gulf of Eden, and this is the narrow piece of water I was talking about, Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which connects Gulf of Eden to Red Sea. And ultimately, when you flow through Red Sea, it is this aspect. There is this Suez Canal which connects Red Sea with that of Mediterranean Sea, right? We have done this before, okay? Now this Red Sea connects Arabian Sea with Indian Ocean through Gulf of Eden and a narrow strait of water, that is Bab al-Mandeb Strait. And in the north portion of Red Sea, it is bifurcated by what is known as Sinai Peninsula, right? So this, you understand, this is what is called as Sinai Peninsula. Let me change the color of the pen. This is the Sinai Peninsula. Please let me know which is the country which is currently controlling the Sinai Peninsula. And Sinai Peninsula bifurcates Red Sea into two different water bodies here and here. That is Gulf of Suez, here is Suez Canal, and on here is Gulf of Aqaba, and here you reach important Israeli ports, right? So this is how Sinai Peninsula divides two important water bodies, Suez, Gulf of Suez, Gulf of Aqaba, and this is the Red Sea in the south of Sinai Peninsula, right? So this is what is important. So the northern portion of Red Sea, it is connected by Sinai Peninsula and Gulf of Aqaba and Gulf of Sinai, where it is connected to Mediterranean Sea via the famous Suez Canal. Understood? So it is actually the Gulf of Suez which connects Red Sea to the Suez Canal. Now the countries which are bordering Red Sea, which is apparent from this map, are these countries. So let us understand which are the countries bordering it. Yemen and Saudi are bordering Red Sea towards the east, whereas you move north and west, it is bordered by countries like Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, as well as Djibouti. So the abbreviation that you need to remember, YESO as well as SEED. So these are the countries that are bordering Red Sea. And the islands also are there in Red Sea. Some of the well-known islands in the region, Tyran Island, which is located near the mouth of Gulf of Aqaba, whereas Shadwan Island, which is located near the entrance of Gulf of Suez, are the important islands on the Red Sea region. Now let us understand some other geographical aspects of Red Sea. These are very important. Now Red Sea, they also happen to be one of world's warmest seas. And why it is world's warmest sea? Because of insolation that happens in the region, because this region consists a lot of deserts. So the prevailing temperatures there are quite high, which promotes a lot of evaporation. Similarly, because of increased evaporation, the water in the Red Seas are also very salty. And this is due to multiple factors. First, due to high evaporation, due to increased insolation, low instances of rainfall in the region, and no significant rivers or stream when they are not draining into the Red Sea. Therefore, fresh water intake of this water body is also not so high. That is why it leads to presence of huge amount of salinity in the waters of Red Sea. Now you might be wondering, sea ka color to blue hota hai na, because the sea is blue in color. So how can you name it Red Sea? There is a reason for it. What is the reason? Because the name itself is derived from the color change which is observed sometime. Red Sea generally is of intense blue color like every other ocean, but it is also populated by an extensive presence of algae known as Trichosadium erythraeum. So when these algae, they bloom, it leads to color change and they turn reddish brown in color. Therefore, the name Red Sea has been given to this particular water body. Understood? This is the algae responsible for giving itself the name Trichosadium erythraeum. Understood? Any doubt? I hope not. Now let's see what will be the impact of India. Automatically you understand India is a very big importer of crude oil. Last year as much as 88% of India's total crude oil need, they were being imported from other country, and the major countries from where India sources its crude oil in addition to Russia are the countries located in the Middle Eastern region where this conflict is going on, like countries like Iraq, Saudi, UAE, etc. Right? So automatically the violence going on there is going to disrupt, and nearly 2/3 of India's crude oil and half of India's LNG import, they pass through Strait of Hormuz, which the Iran is now threatening to conduct the closure. Similarly, India heightened tensions in the Red Sea region also possesses economic difficulties for India. Why? Because India, when it conducts trade with Western countries like European Union, Western African region, or even US, nearly 30% of its westbound exports, they flow through Red Sea region, ultimately through Suez Canal. So therefore, disruption in these two water bodies automatically will pose a negative threat to India's economic interest. Similarly, as you can understand, even the supply of crude oil would fall. Why? Because Iran is world's major large supplier of crude oil, and when Iran is disrupted due to the war, it could lead to reduction in supplies of crude oil by as much as 1.75 million barrels per day. Now, this supply deficit can sometimes be even compensated by increase in supply by other OPEC plus countries, but still there will be significant decrease in overall supply of crude oil because of war going on between Israel and Iran. And you understand, whenever a supply of any important commodity reduces, it puts an upward pressure on their prices. So it is expected that going forward, the Brent, which is a grade of crude oil, it could rise as much as $90 per barrel before coming to $60 per barrel in the next year period as the supply recovers, right? So it will also lead to increased pressure of inflation into India, because India imports a large amount of crude oil, and when the prices of those crude oil increase, India needs to shell out more dollars to import those crude oil, and it will also pressurize Indian rupee. Why? Because to import similar amount of crude oil, India would now want to shell out more dollars. Therefore, demand for dollars in India would increase. This will put a negative pressure on the value of rupee, leading to its depreciation. Similarly, it will also complicate India's fiscal management, because you understand India remains in trade deficit because it imports more than it exports, and when prices of crude oil increase, our rupee depreciates, India's import will increase further than its exports, and this will increase our total current account deficit, right? So these are the financial implications that it will have on India. The ships that are going to navigate through these water bodies, they will need to pay higher insurance premium. Ships who will take alternative routes like Cape of Good Hope, they'll be increasing their transportation or shipping costs, and ultimately this will also contribute to inflation in India, right? So these are the overall negative impacts on India. As we can understand from our discussion, these will be negative economic impacts. Understood? Now, before the practice question, I have something that I wanted to tell you. Now, in geography, important water bodies are very important, like Red Sea. As we have seen, a question has appeared in the prelims quite recently in 2024. But the questions or the UPSC exam setters, they are quite smart. They don't just pick the questions from current affairs, but they use static portions also. So how do you learn static portions? You can actually take yourself admissions into one of our Pratigya batches. Right now we are offering morning batches of Pratigya, right? Now this batch is expected to start from 23rd of June. You can take admissions to this batch at this rate, but you will get this rate only after you apply the code ATS Live. How to get the admission, how to apply the code, let me tell it to you, right? What you need to do, go to our StudyIQ IAS website. Once you go to our StudyIQ IAS website, you will be needing to create an account here by simply logging in with your mobile number. Once you're done logging in, select all languages option and select English. Why am I telling you to select English? Because I understand not every one of you who's watching the this video might be very comfortable in Hindi as your learning language, right? So for you, we are offering exclusively in English batches. You have two options right here. Suppose if you want to give prelims next year in 2026, this is the left one batches for you. And if you are looking to give exams later, that is in 27 or 28, this is the long-term evening batch for you. You can take admissions to either one of them. Suppose, for argument's sake, if you're appearing exams in the next year 2026, right? Click on this left tile by clicking buy now. As soon as you click buy now, see, it says 37,999 is the course fees. You can take admissions to this batch even on an amount discounted than this. How to get discounts? Let me tell it to you. Click on buy now. On your right, there's an option to add promo code. Here you write ATS Live, which is the same code flashing on the bottom half of your screen, right? Write ATS Live, and as soon as you're done writing ATS Live, click apply. When you click apply, see the discount of 7,000 rupees is now applied, and the diamond course is now available at 30,999. Earlier it was 37,999, right? Similarly, platinum also is available at a discount that is 27,500. You can take obviously admissions in either one of them. But if you ask me, I'll recommend you take admissions in diamond batch. Why? Because diamond batch comes up with many important features that are not available in platinum. For example, you'll be getting a mains residential program. Suppose if you clear prelims, you'll be brought to Delhi, and your study, food, lodging related expenses will be borne by StudyIQ. Similarly, even before prelims, if you demonstrate good learning, you'll be brought to Delhi for prelims residential program. You'll be getting a selection box which includes all the books necessary for your exams perspective, Margdarshan, which is essentially guidance by faculties, and scholarship. That is, if you clear prelims, your entire course fees, yes, your entire course fees will be refunded, and you'll also be eligible to get a monthly reward of 11,000 rupees if you top your exams, right? So these are the features exclusively to diamond batches. If you have still any doubt, you can obviously call us on this number. But please do not forget to apply the code ATS Live, because it helps you get 7,000 rupees off, which is a part of your or your parents' hard-earned money, right? So please save them by using the code. Now coming back to our discussion, this is the practice question that you need to solve. This is basically a prelims question that appeared in 2024, and this can be solved easily based on our today's discussion, right? So this brings an end to our today's discussion. If you want to download the notes, these will be available on the Telegram channel ATS Live. So this is the channel that you need to go. Search the words ATS Live, you'll find the channel. You can also scan the QR code if you have some difficulty. So we'll see each other again. Please have a very good day.
Every single book which have toppers suggested, but nothing worked for me.
I was like कि नहीं होगा छोड़ देते हैं, नहीं हो रहा है तो क्या फ़ायदा इनको दोबारा पढ़ने से.
I would like to thank StudyIQ. I got connected to StudyIQ.
StudyIQ ने मेरा मेंस तक मैंने साथ दिया, उसके बाद भी उन्होंने मेरा साथ नहीं छोड़ा.
And I have taken this mock at StudyIQ.
And I would recommend StudyIQ.
Yes, I will recommend, definitely recommend StudyIQ.